Yes.
Okay, so we're doing the second shir. We're doing tonight's shir, which is for Chai Shvat, which is Wednesday. This is the second part of the Akdam. The Rambam told us the first part of the Akdam, the whole tradition of Teresh Baal Peh from Moshe Rabbeinu, Rav Ashi, and the ending of the era of the Gemara. Right? The Rambam's bringing us up to date. Why did he feel the need to write the Sefer, and what's the objective? Like a understanding of what the purpose is over here. All the Chacham who we mentioned, every generation who was the leader, the Baal Mesorah, the one who taught Torah to the people of his generation, right? They are the great people of the generation. Mehem Rashi Yeshivas, Mehem Rashi Golias. Some of them are the heads of the academies, and some of the heads. The term Rosh Yeshiva in this case means the head of the yeshiva. It's the head of Eretz Yisrael. Rashi Golias means the head of the Chutz La'aretz in Bavel. Some of them are members of the great Sanhedrin, the Jewish Supreme Court. It's not just them. There are thousands and thousands of nameless Chachamim who we don't know their names, who are part of this think tank, part of the scholarly think tank that brought the tradition of Teresh Baal Peh to the next generation. The Ravina Rav Ashi himself, Ravina Rav Ashi, they were the end of the era of the Chacham, what we call the Talmud. Rav Ashi was the one who compiled the Babylonian Talmud in the land of Shinar in Iraq, in Babylonia. Approximately 100 years after Be'echanan finished the Talmud Yerushalmi in Eretz Yisrael. So again, the Talmud Yerushalmi and all the teachings over there, Rav Ashi added to that. When the center of Torah moved from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, because of the wars of the Romans and the Byzantines and how the Yidden were being harassed, and that's how the center of Torah moved from Eretz Yisrael to Bavel, and therefore that was where the main yeshivas were, and that's where the Gemara continued and was completed by Rav Ashi. The purpose of both Talmuds, the Talmud Bava, Talmud Yerushalmi, who it's explain the words of the Mishnah and it's at depth. Right, we learned in the previous shir that Rabbi Nasi was the first one to make a work that encapsulated all of Teresh Baal Peh. And from then on, that was the curriculum that people had to use to teach Teresh Baal Peh. And so from then on, a crucial part of learning Teresh Baal Peh was not just learning the halachas, but also learning how the Mishnah was masterfully worded to capture all these halachas. That became part of the crucial way of learning Teresh Baal Peh, right? And also in the Gemara, new halachas, new what if situations and questions that arose and the Chiddushim that were taught after the ending of the Mishnah, right? Okay. Right? From both Gemaras, from the Tosefta, from the Sifra, and the Sifri, and the various other types of Toseftas. Why does Rambam say Toseftas twice? It's a good question. All right, so he says different Mefarshim discuss what these two Toseftas are. Good. Rambam told us yesterday already that they're different works, right? They're different Sfarim that were compiled to teach Teresh Baal Peh. Besides the Gemara before the Gemara, after the Mishnah was Sifra and Sifri, right? These are primarily explain the halachas, how they derive from the Psukim and Vayikra. Okay, so from all these different Sfarim, the Kulam Mispar Hidus of Amuta, we get the clarification of what's permitted and forbidden. Talking about Torah, pure and impure, V'chai Potter. These are different areas of halacha refer to Asr and Mutter, right? And then the Talmud and Torah is to Mentara. Asr Mutter refers to like Isurin. Chayv and Potter refers to monetary halacha. Apostle of Akosher, that references concepts that are around Korbanos, I believe. Or perhaps not. Okay. As was the tradition, teacher to student from Moshe Rabbeinu. Again, the 40 generations we learned from Moshe Rabbeinu to the Vash. Also, and then was explaining things that were not given, at least not in a revealed way in Har Sinai. That the Chacham and the Nevi'im, the leaders in every generation, made as safeguards to the Torah. Why do they do this? Because Moshe Rabbeinu taught them clearly. The pasuk says you should guard my guardianship. You make a garden for my guardianship. Bezin has a chiyuv to make takonas to prevent the Yidden from transgressing the halachas. Right, the issue of riding horse on Shabbos, you shouldn't rip off a branch, etc. He'll explain from them all the different types of traditions, conducts, and customs, and enactments. That they enact in every generation as the Bez in that tradition saw fit. We should also these are really not made to make Yidden veer away from prevent them from transgressing. The idea of for example, we eat more on Pesach. even though there's no Beis Hamikdash. Not because to prevent anything. It's just as a zecher of how it was not bias, right? Okay. It's not even because we should remember how to do it when Mashiach comes, right? You don't just do everything that we did in Beis Hamikdash. Let's keep going. We should remember how to do it. That's not the point. There's certain things that we're masakin. Okay. We should also understand, because again, the reason why it's so important to us to teach us in the Gemara, just like with the other halachas, is because it is forbidden to stray away from them, from these things. So now it says, you're not allowed to stray from anything Sanhedrin tells you right or left. And we looked at the Sanhedrin, right? This is how the last sefer of the Rambam connects to the beginning, right? Whatever the Sanhedrin enacts, even if it's not a halacha in the Torah per se, it is forbidden from the Torah to avoid fulfilling it. Yeah. Similarly, similarly does the halachas and laws, pleading which are concealed, which are not clear. They did not hear from Moshe Rabbeinu. It's clearly exactly what the halacha is, right? So, example, we learned we know there's a halacha of a borrower, a renter, and a person who watches for free. What's the din if a person gets paid to watch? Right? What's his halacha? So it's machlekes, right? So we didn't hear from Moshe Rabbeinu about feirush. So it's a cham's responsibility to darshan from the psukim, and the majority of the Sanhedrin will decide what halacha is, and many other examples like that. Okay. But the Sanhedrin of that particular generation, dealt with the issue and discussed it according to the principles that Moshe Rabbeinu taught us, right? The 13 midas of Rabbi Shmuel, and the Zikain of Sanhedrin paskin that the halacha is as such. All that Rav Ashi collected from Moshe Rabbeinu until his day. So for the second time in history, the Rambam has told us that a great person of the generation came and collected all the teachings of Torah Sheba'al Peh in one central body of work that now became the formal responsibility of every single Yid to follow. The first time was Rabbi Nasi, the second time was Rav Ashi in the Gemara. And the Rambam is going to tell us soon he's going to do it now for the third time. The Chum of the Mishnah, besides what we have already, the Rambam told us before about the Bishmol, about the Sifra and Sifri, right? The Chum of the Mishnah also compiled other works to explain the words of the Torah. Rav Haishia wrote an explanation of the book of Bereshis, which is probably not so much relevant to halacha, but more understanding what the sefer. We call this Medrash Rabbah to Bereshis, I believe. Rabbi Shmuel Perish Ve'elo Shemayis Ad Sefer Torah. Rabbi Shmuel did something similar. He picked up where Rav Haishia left off, and he wrote from Elo Shemayis to the end of the Torah. Again, it's also, I believe, of Wunik Mechilta. That's called Mechilta, which is not Medrash Rabbah. Then on so interesting. So Medrash Rabbah on Bereshis. And then you have Mechilta, which is on Shemais. Medrash Rabbah on Shemais is by someone else, apparently. Okay. Mekiva also compiled the Mechilta, which is a medrash to explain the psukim. Many sages following them made various svarim to explain all these different things. All this was compiled before the Talmud Bavli and was all collected in the Talmud Bavli by Ravina. Well, not all of it, but much of it. There were certain midrashim explaining psukim that not all the midrashim and psukim are in the Medrash Rabbah, in the Gemara, but a lot of it is, and it's because Rav Ashi felt it was relevant to make it a formal curriculum that every single person has to mitat shalapeh. Nimtza Ravina Rav Ashi Ravina Rav Ashi and their colleagues Seif Chadlei Chachmei Yisrael Matikim Torah Sheba'al Peh. They are the end of the era of the Chacham of the Jewish people who are copying, so to speak, right, or transcribing the oral Torah, the Shigazu, the Vizkiv Takonis, and the Human Menagis, because of Gezeris, Vizkiv Takonis, and the Menagis, and they are the ones who also copied and transcribed all the enactments and the Gezeris that were made. There, the halachas they collected and the gezeros that they collected and wrote in the Gemara became accepted and famous among the Jewish people wherever they live. It's unanimously accepted among all Yidden to follow what it says in the Gemara, right? Okay. After the Bezdin of Rav Ashi, following that, when he finished the Talmud and was finished by his son Mar Bar Rav Ashi, yes, sir, at that point, the dispersion of Jewish people became excessive. Eden became scattered to all four corners of the earth in ways that weren't prior. They became very, very distant places and foreign islands. And much war was happening in the world. And all the different highways were impossible to pass because of different bandits. And therefore, because of that Torah study became minimized. Yidden didn't come to study together as thousands at one place as did prior. When thousands didn't come together to study all together, everyone cross-checks everyone else, and there's a shir and there's different groups, and the think tank, if you will, it remains more robust. When every person, every little community has their own little shiva going on, that's where more likely for things to get more splintered. The remnants of the individuals who still call out to Hashem, they gather together in every city, every district. They occupy the Torah and they understand from the works that have been collected by the Chachamim, have been compiled by the Chachamim. And thereby they understand what the halach is. Hopefully, every bezin that arose or that exists after the end of the Gemara in every area, every district, every country, and they made a takana or a conduct or an enactment for the people of their country, or from multiple countries even. Those did not become accepted among all the Yidden, only among some Yidden. That's because one is far from the other. They didn't hear about it. It wasn't considered. People didn't travel there. It didn't reach them. Either they didn't know about it, they didn't hear about it, or they heard about it, but they didn't feel the need to accept it. Right? There's no central body anymore of Teresh V'Alpeh. And since the bezin, and if they did hear about it, since the bezin of that country who made this takana, kidneys, for example, whatever else it is, right? Different examples. Since they are individual, they are yichidim. They're not the central body of Teresh V'Alpeh of the Sanhedrin. They're just individuals. And the Sanhedrin of 71 members already ceased to be 40 years before the Churban, right? And therefore, in different capacities, they exist in different ways, but not the same way it was. And therefore, therefore, you can't force the Jewish people in one community to conduct themselves according to the Bez in another community. You can't tell this Bezin, you have to enact the kind of the other Bezin, because each one is equal. And similarly, if one of the Ga'inim understood from Pshat in the Gemara how the halacha should be, and a different Bezdin in a different part of the world, or even a Bezdin in the same part of the world, but in a different generation afterwards, disagrees and feels the halacha is different. And Shem al-Rishon, you don't necessarily has to obey the previous generation. In other words, there's a certain time where it's given that, like, for example, we know that the Chacham of the Gemara didn't argue on time of the Mishnah. For whatever reason, it was certain, whether they couldn't or they chose not to. But there's a certain sense of that's like we don't mess with them. So if you lack of better, Chachamim from the end of the Gemara till times of the Rambam, whether one to follow the other. How could you argue on the previous generation? If you want to pass an halacha, you can follow the more recent psak. You can follow the previous psak. There's no to follow the earlier psak, and therefore the Rambam is pointing out over here why he felt the need, taking the cue from Rabbi Yehuda Nasi and Rav Ashi, to once again collect all the Teresh V'Alpeh and make it the one central work called the Mishnah Torah, as we'll learn in tomorrow's shir.
Let's go to the end of the introduction. Let's go to the end of the introduction.
Tomorrow? Yeah, tomorrow.
Not today?
No, today we stop over here. Unless I.
Where is it?